Colleagues, we will return to the motion by Mr. Saxton. And we did leave off, we did have a speakers list. We had 4 members, Ms. Nash, Mr. Cote, Mr. Hoback, Mr. Caron on that list. So that's where I will start. I will start with Ms. Nash and work my way down the list. If you do not wish to speak to it, please indicate so. And obviously if you wish to, please indicate that as well. So we'll go back to Ms. Nash, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And just to remind us all that the motion that we are dealing with would have the effect of denying the right or denying the opportunity of independent members of the House of Commons, that is, members whose parties have less than a dozen seats in the House, denying them the opportunity to introduce amendments at the report stage of a bill and to give all members of Parliament the opportunity to speak to, debate and vote on those amendments, all with the goal of improving our legislative process. I want to again repeat that we strongly oppose this motion. We believe that the Conservatives are taking a democratic shortcut here that is not necessary and impacts on the rights of members who are elected to this House. It would mean a significant change in the way the House operates, a change that has been in a process that has been long-standing, and it would have definite impacts on the rights of members of Parliament. I just want to cite O'Brien and Bosch, which makes it clear that it is the House and the House alone that appoints the members and associate members of its committees, as well as the members who will represent it on joint committees. The Speaker has ruled that this is a fundamental right of the House. The committees themselves have no powers at all in this regard. End quote. That's on page 1019. But furthermore, in another passage, and I quote, "The standing orders specifically exclude a non-member from voting, moving motions, or being counted for purposes of a quorum." End quote. That's page 1018. In other words, the committee has no powers to make this sort of procedural change on its own. These powers lie within the House and its Speaker. The Conservatives claim there would be no infringement on the rights of independent members, but these members would be required to submit motions and then would be excluded from voting on these motions. In addition, during last spring's committee study of Bill C-60, committee members were given a choice in regard to including independent members. Independent members were prohibited from participating in the debate and study on the content of the bill unless an opposition member was willing to give them their seat on the committee. Now, this scenario was bound to infringe on some members' rights, for it can surely be argued that independent members cannot be required to submit amendments to the committee when they are not permitted to participate in the committee study, while requiring opposition committee members to give up their seats and participation in order to accommodate independence, and it certainly tramples on their rights as committee members. And when it came to moving motions, independents were allowed to move their motions for amendment and speak very briefly to them, but were excluded from voting on them. In the normal course of the committee stage, each party submits motions for amendments, and then the party's representatives on the committee vote on them. The proposed changes certainly put independent members at a democratic disadvantage. In short, our experience with this process was not positive, and we believe it infringed on members' rights. It's particularly undemocratic that the Conservatives would bring this motion forward in committees which have no power to make this sort of procedural change, and where the very members in question in the motion are excluded from both debate and from voting. Now, I do notice that a letter by 3 independent members has been circulated to us as members on the committee. It was addressed to the chair of the committee, and it attempts to insert their voice into this process because they have no voice and no standing on this committee. So for this reason, for these reasons, we do not believe that this is an appropriate motion for this committee. We think it infringes on members' rights. It's not healthy for our democratic process, and again, Mr. Speaker, will be opposing it.